Welcome to Listening to Lawyers, a special project of the Wisconsin Lawyers Assistance Program at the State Bar of Wisconsin. Listening to Lawyers provides the Wisconsin legal community opportunities to hear personal stories from Wisconsin's lawyers about adversity, perseverance, resilience, transformation, and hope. Joining us now is attorney Jennifer Lee Edmondson, a litigator and principal at Edmondson Law Office in Appleton, Wisconsin, and the founder of the nonprofit organization Health Education and Welfare, which serves individuals suffering lymphedema. She's also a longtime peer support volunteer for our program at the State Bar of Wisconsin, the Wisconsin Lawyers Assistance Program. Jennifer agreed to talk with us today about her diagnosis with stage 4 metastatic breast cancer, her treatment experience, and how it changed her. Jennifer, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Before we jump into the medical story you'll share today, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, Milwaukee, born and raised, into a family of immigrants, educated through the public school system, University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee graduate, University of Wisconsin Law School graduate, 1986, and I have lived and worked in Appleton, Wisconsin since 1989.
Thank you. So I would like to turn now to your experience with cancer, if that's okay.
Sure.
Can you tell us what you remember about the day you received the cancer diagnosis?
The actual diagnosis came on a Friday, and I remember that it was a Friday because after telling our one and only child, who was 14 at the time, we went to fish fry, which was our tradition, because not going to fish fry was not going to change the fact that I had this diagnosis. We had suspected that I might have cancer the week before because on my routine annual mammogram, there were some calcifications that showed up on the mammogram scan. There were no lumps, no masses, no changes in symptoms, nothing other than these marks. And so I was recommended to have a biopsy. I did have one lymph node under my left arm, which was large enough to be biopsied. And I was fortunate enough that the radiologist who conducted the biopsy was the father of a school friend of my daughter's. So we knew the radiologist. And he performed the biopsy. I saw what his procedure was on the screen. It was very fascinating, actually. And he talked me through it. And he said that he would send the sample to the lab and ask for a rush because it was being done on a Friday. And he knew that I would like to know the results. But in his experience of 30 plus years, he thought for sure that I would be diagnosed with cancer. So the results were rushed, and that Friday we got the call saying, definitely it is cancer. Tag, you're it. So then my husband and I talked about how we would tell our child, our daughter, and we did. And then we went to fish fry.
And I'm very curious about the conversation you had with the radiologist, where he was very direct with you. In my experience, when I've seen this before, the diagnosis is cancer. Was that a blessing to you, or did it help you prepare for what would come? Do you wish he hadn't said that? Was that helpful or not helpful?
It was very helpful, and because we knew him, he knew the kind of person I am and my husband. We're very direct. We want to know. We want to know all the information ahead of time as soon as possible so we can start thinking about it and making plans. So I appreciated the radiologist's approach and his directness. He did not mince words. He told it to us the way he saw it, and he was right. It was a positive diagnosis.
What other experiences in life and in your career framed what that diagnosis meant to you when it came?
There is never a good time to be told you have metastatic cancer. Life experiences that led up to that. My family has a history of cancers of the reproductive system. My father died from prostate cancer. His older brother had prostate cancer and died from complications of that. I have a younger sister who lives and works in Madison, and she was diagnosed with breast cancer 5 years before I did. I have 2 aunts who died from ovarian cancer, and we now know that I have the breast cancer mutation. So that's the family health history leading up to my diagnosis. Other life experiences, I think anyone that lives to be a full-grown adult will experience difficulties in life. It's just the way life is. And so I was 50 years old when I was diagnosed. 1 month, actually diagnosed 1 month before I was going to turn 50. It was such an inopportune time to be told this news. We were planning a trip with our daughter to Europe. Life was being planned the way we had wanted life to be planned. And then life threw this big old monkey wrench into all of our plans. And at that point, then everything had to stand still because now the medical community was taking over our lives to try to eliminate the cancer out of this body and to save my life.
So people with stage 4 diagnoses are often given very little hope. Or, by alternative, they're often offered optimism that isn't necessarily grounded in science when treaters are uncomfortable talking about death. What signals were you getting from professionals about how to navigate this territory?
I think I was really very fortunate. This was in 2011 that this all started happening. So we are, 13 years from now? Okay, 13 years. And back then, I had health insurance that allowed me to choose my specialists. I did not need referrals. And so once I was diagnosed, I started doing research to look for what I could find being the best specialists to assemble my medical team before I had surgery. So I went on a search for a breast surgeon, a plastic surgeon, a medical oncologist, a radiation oncologist, and also I was fortunate to find an integrative medicine specialist who trained with Dr. Andrew Weil. So I had this time to interview doctors and choose the ones that I would have on my medical team. And I think because I had that luxury, that blessing, that I met these doctors before we started any kind of treatment, that I was able to choose qualified professionals whose personalities were a good fit with mine. And so because of that, the communication was excellent. They understood the way my mind works, and so they told me things as it was. They were direct because I asked them to be direct. I did not want to have false hope. I did not want to have unrealistic expectations because I wanted to be able to plan as much as I could for what was going to be coming my way. And it was going to be a very aggressive course of treatment, which is what I asked for and was consistent with what the doctor's approach was anyway.
So you knew at the beginning you were going to fight?
Yes. When I was given the diagnosis, I really thought I was going to die. Because of the relatives of mine who had been diagnosed and who had died. And because my cancer had spread from the left breast into all of the lymph nodes under my left arm, within a 14-month time period, I assumed it was a very aggressive cancer and that my chances of survival were going to be slim. The doctors didn't tell me this. And for people who have their cancers staged, it's very important for people to understand this, and this is what I was told. The staging process serves the purpose of advising the medical doctors what kind of approach needs to be taken. And technically, I was a stage 3C, so I was just on the cusp of stage 4. But it is not necessarily a death sentence to be diagnosed with stage 3C or stage 4. What it communicates to the doctors is that a certain approach should be recommended and taken. So that's what I was told and understood. And I knew that I would need to be aggressive with my approach to try to increase my chances of survivorship. And so that was the road that I embarked upon.
Mm-hmm. What was the most challenging part of treatment for you?
For me personally, the most challenging part was getting through the chemotherapy. I was given a 3-drug cocktail, which was the best way to try to kill off any cancer cells that were left in my body, the microscopic cancer cells. And I was advised that not every patient can complete the full course of these chemotherapy infusions, and that at any time I wanted to stop, I could. But if they had to stop an infusion session before that session ended, that was perfectly fine, but I could not have any more future chemo, period. However, if I were to complete the entire course, this was over 12 weeks, that would increase my chances of killing every microscopic cancer cell that was possibly still on my body. So that was what I knew going into it. During my first chemo session, my windpipe closed up on me and I couldn't breathe because I was having an allergic reaction to one of the drugs. And so I started feeling that I couldn't breathe. I had to gesticulate to try to get the attention of a nurse because there were no panic buttons. There was no button for me to press to get anyone's attention. And fortunately, there was a nurse who was emptying a garbage can around the corner from me, and she saw me gesticulating, and apparently it must have been the universal gesticulation of I can't breathe, and she stopped the chemo. She stopped the infusion. She didn't stop the chemo session. She stopped the infusion, gave me massive doses of a steroid, got me breathing again, turned back the poison, and we went with more chemo dripping into the body. And then I would say it was probably, I was supposed to have 6 chemo sessions 2 weeks apart. And the reason for the 2 weeks apart is that that's the time for your body to try to recuperate as much as possible before they zapped you again. And I think it was chemo number 4, I became so sick that I really felt that I was probably gray. My coloring probably was gray. And from what the nurses' faces looked like when they would look at me and check on me, I think I probably looked really bad. And they would ask me, do you want to stop? Do you want to stop? And the chemo sessions took 4 hours easily. I was there just sitting in the recliner for 4 hours, letting this junk drip into me. And during this 4 hours, they kept coming in. It felt like every 2 seconds. Do you want to stop? Do you want to stop, honey? And these faces that they had, they looked so, I think they were looking at me with pity. And I was in such pain. And I just wanted them to leave me alone. And I felt like saying, just leave me alone. But they kept checking on me, and I kept saying, no, 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 I cannot stop because I understand. If I stop this chemo session before it's finished, I cannot come back for 5 and 6. And if I don't get 5 and 6, then I will reduce the chances of my surviving. I'm going to die. So I went through that, and that was probably the hardest for me regarding treatment. However, I have to say that as bad as all of that was, knowing that my loved ones, my husband and my daughter and my family, what they were going through and not having any formal support. When you're a cancer patient, you've got the doctors, you've got their nurses, you've got social workers, you've got the entire healthcare community buzzing around you, giving you all the attention that you need and more because they are trying to save your life. You have professionals who are trained to take care of you as the patient. There is nothing out there for family and loved ones. There are no people checking in on them. There are no professionals checking on them. They are left alone, feeling helpless and not knowing what to do. And I believe that as hard as it was for me as the cancer patient, I think it was much harder for my husband, my daughter, and my family.
Mm-hmm. Did they find support? Do you?
Yes and no, depending on personalities and personal approaches to stressors in life. And so I would say family support, emotional support from friends was definitely available. Whether or not individuals took advantage of that differed with each individual.
The Lawyer's Assistance Program at the State Bar of Wisconsin is staffed by licensed mental health professionals offering consultation and support to Wisconsin's lawyers. We provide confidential consultation, recommendations, referral, and short-term interventions on a wide range of challenges lawyers face in their work and personal lives. You can reach us by phone at 1-800-543-2625 or schedule with us through our online scheduling system at wisbar.org/WisLAP.
WilMIC views itself as an integral part of the broader team comprising Wisconsin lawyers. This mindset underscores the importance of mutual trust and reliance within the legal community. WilMIC pledges to uphold this trust by consistently safeguarding lawyers' practice and clients while remaining steadfast presence in the Wisconsin legal landscape.
Hi, Russell Nicolay here with Nicolay Law, Accident and Injury Lawyers. If you have clients that have been injured, my office would love the opportunity to help them get compensated and get their life back on track. We handle referrals and co-counsel relationships on injury cases all across Wisconsin.
Now back to listening to lawyers. So what resources, you've mentioned you kind of built a team.
Yes.
You assessed people, you interviewed people. I heard another cancer survivor say to me, at some point you just pick a horse and ride. Like you have to pick a course of treatment or pick the right doctor, and this is where you're going to go. And once that's in place, like, you know, then that's how we're going to go. But I'm wondering what other resources you used during this time to motivate yourself to keep on going. Was it the image of your daughter? Was it, something else?
Something really interesting happened during this cancer journey, and I think the word journey is too docile, but the other word I would say probably is not publishable. So we'll call it the journey. Something very interesting and curious occurred. Individuals who I felt were very close to my family, who were relatives or friends, that I just assumed would come round to provide support, did not. And complete strangers appeared and did. We had a small group of women, some friends, some acquaintances, and many strangers who came forward to provide food and moral support. I play tennis, and prior to having my surgeries, I was talking to a friend in the women's locker room about my diagnosis, and we were speaking in hushed tones. And another woman on the other side of the locker room, who I did not know, came up to me, and she said, I happened to overhear your conversation. I wasn't eavesdropping. She gave me her name and number on a piece of paper, and she told me that she was a breast cancer survivor. And if I ever wanted to talk, she was available. During my cancer active treatment, I experienced women approaching me like that. Once I was bald from the chemo and out in public, there must be something about that look, because I had women come up to me in stores saying, my guess is that you are a breast cancer survivor going through chemo. If you ever want to talk, I would be happy to talk with you, because I am a cancer survivor also. So that was something that was quite curious, miraculous, very interesting, the different responses from different people to the news of my having cancer. My mom was a great source of support and provided very practical and common sense suggestions to difficult times, times when I could not sleep because of all the massive steroids they pumped into me. I would not be able to sleep for 48 or more hours after each chemo session, so I'd be wide awake in the middle of the night when the house is quiet and you can hear every creaking sound and you can't sleep. And so the thoughts start creeping into the mind. I'm going to die. When am I going to die? I'm not going to be able to see my daughter graduate from high school, go to college, go to prom, get none of that, get her driver's license, and all of these terrible morbid thoughts that one starts thinking about when they're lying in bed wide awake, waiting for their next chemo session.
And your mother's advice for that was?
My mother is a very religious person, and her faith has gotten her through so many difficult times. I consider myself spiritual, but not necessarily religious. My mom suggested to me that for those nights that I couldn't sleep, to pray. And when she first said that, I said, Mom, I'm tired of praying for myself. I don't know what is the purpose. And she said, no, darling. You're not praying for yourself. You're praying for other people. She said, start making the list in your mind. You start praying. You can pray for yourself, but then pray for your husband. Pray for other people. Pray for family members, friends, colleagues. Just pray for other people. And it was a way of counting sheep, but something that I think was more constructive. And it actually brought me a great deal of peace to be praying for other people, to know that, oh, I am doing something to try to help other people. Mm-hmm. And so that really helped. My mom is really wise, and I really appreciated her giving me such wonderful, practical advice and for the support that she gave us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a wonderful recommendation, a wonderful practice. So I'm wondering, was there a moment when you began to feel, sense, or know that you would achieve remission? Is there a turning point in this that you were like, maybe it's going to work out?
Yes, I think so. And I think there was no one defining moment, like the heavens opened up and there it was. La! It probably was a process. So after my double mastectomies, I had definite cancer in the left breast. They weren't sure about the right breast. There wasn't enough to biopsy. The recommendation was, we'll just take the left breast and save the right breast. And I said, no, you're going to have to take it all because I want the most aggressive treatment. I'm not going to want to keep coming back. If I'm going to survive this, I'm not going to come back every 6 months and get poked or whatever. So After the double mastectomies, the next day, my surgeon came back and told me, you can consider yourself now cancer-free. There might be microscopic cancer in you, but for our purposes, you are cancer-free, and I want you to approach your future with that in mind. So she planted the seed, and then when I was able to complete all 12 weeks, the 6 sessions of chemotherapy and also then radiation therapy, that told me that I'm on the road to being cancer-free. And then final reconstruction, removal of the ovaries as a preventive. Then basically time passes. And the more that time passes and there does not appear to be any recurrence or new cancer, that helps to build the confidence that, okay, at least I've had another year that passed and it appears that I don't have cancer. And then those years build. And now, right now, I am at 13 years since the diagnosis. So I have had 14 years being cancer-free. And that's the best way for me to approach it.
Can you draw a kind of a line between the darkest days of that treatment experience and how it shapes your life now?
The darkest days during active cancer treatment was the time period during chemotherapy. I'm up for 48 hours or more after each session. My body is debilitated. The purpose of the chemo is to kill fast-growing cells of any kind in your body in the hopes of also getting the cancer cells. At the time I was getting chemo, there was no such thing as targeted chemo. I don't know if there even is now, but they were not able to just say, okay, we've got this mix of poison and the poison will only kill the cancer cells. It kills all fast-growing cells. That's why you go bald and lose all the hair on your body, because hair is fast-growing cells. So during that time period, I wasn't sleeping well, I was not eating well, and I developed a really bad sinus infection, and antibiotics were not helping. So I was coughing at night, dry heaves. I was very sick, very much in physical and emotional pain, because all this time I'm thinking, yeah, I'm going through this and I'm going to die. So taking my mother's advice and praying for other people and starting to think about things, I finally said, hey, universe, I am really suffering and going through a really bad time, and so is my family. And I don't understand what I'm supposed to do with this. What am I supposed to do with what's going on with us and all this pain? What is the purpose? What can I do with this to make some good out of it? And so I said this prayer to the universe that I would very much like universe to send me signs, and they have to be big signs because I'm probably not the brightest person to notice signs. Send me big signs as to what I'm supposed to do with this hell that I and my family are going through. I have to figure out a way to do something with all of this. So I said the prayer, and as time was passing, I did start getting signs that I recognized. And that helped me to use the pain and suffering and all of the energy that was being generated from that suffering to try to do things that were good to benefit others that needed help.
Is that where your nonprofit came from?
Yes. One of the many prayers I made to the universe was, help me to recognize when someone needs help. It's very obvious when someone comes up to you and says, will you please help me? But I wanted universe to tell me, to show me signs of someone who needed help, even if they didn't say it, and to help me to recognize that. And I had always wanted to start a nonprofit. I never knew what the purpose would be. So I just took time to learn as much as I could about nonprofits, served on nonprofit boards until I could figure it out. And many, many signs came to me, which culminated in my starting health education and welfare.
Yeah, tell us about that.
How much time do you have? After all of my active cancer treatment, I developed another disease, which is called lymphedema. And that's a result of having all the lymph nodes removed from my underarm and having radiation therapy. And lymphedema is a disease that affects about 10 million Americans, and yet it's very little understood. Healthcare community does not fully understand it. The general public really doesn't know what it is. I didn't know what it was until I had it. So during different physical therapy sessions with my lymphedema therapist, we would get to talking about different things. And one of the things I have to wear now is a compression garment on my left arm to help the lymphatic fluid to move from my left arm and be processed. We have a lymphatic system. When it works in a healthy body, it works silently. It's part of our immune system. We don't even notice it. When you have a compromised lymphatic system, you know it's not going to work. The lymphatic fluid is not being processed in the body. There's a chance for cellulitis infections to occur, which can lead to permanent damage, sepsis, and maybe death. So during these these manual drainage therapy sessions with my therapist, I would ask her questions about lymphedema, and I said, hey, I know how much my arm sleeves cost. What about people who can't afford them? What do they do? And I expected her to say, the hospitals have financial aid programs. It's not a problem because of the importance of these garments. You need them. And she said they go without. Medicare wasn't covering it back then. Hospitals didn't have any financial aid programs. You just go without. And so she and I got to talking, and she had a number of dreams that she had hoped someday to effectuate. And I told her about my dream of having a nonprofit. And she and I started working on the idea of a conference for lymphedema for both healthcare professionals and patients. There had never been anything like that in Wisconsin. I happened to be serving on a private foundation board for an oncology practice. So she and I pitched the idea to the foundation of this conference, and they said, yes, we love the idea. The two of you find the speakers. We will handle everything. We will handle marketing. We will handle registration. You can use our building as the facility. You can use our volunteers to work the conference. So she and I started working on this. And as time passed, we were getting things together. And the oncology practice said, we have imploded. We are going to dissolve. We are closing our doors before your conference will take place. We are not able to help you with your conference. So now the conference is dead in the water. And I remembered, and it was devastating, and we thought about, what are we going to do? Oh, man. And then I recognized this is a big old sign that has just fallen from the sky like the Wile E. Coyote Roadrunner anvil. And instead of smushing me, it's landed right in front of my feet with a big sign. This is your sign. You asked for this, Jennifer. So this was time for me to start a nonprofit and have that nonprofit present the seminar. And that's how it all started.
That's a great story. And it is about a turnaround, like seeing opportunity in the dead end, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, and I thought when you told that story, no, don't say dead in the water to Jennifer Edmondson. Do not say that.
We thought we were dead in the water. It was like, oh, man, you know.
So the nonprofit still exists.
Yes, founded it in 2018. So what are we now, 6 years? 6 years this year. HEW turned, turned 6 this year. Since 2019, we have provided over $100,000 worth of compression garments to individuals in financial need and to healthcare systems across this country to distribute to their patients in need. It has been just amazing and crazy. And to think that, there are the signs that were made available to me. And I know that some people might think that's all, woo, right, the signs. But boy, once this was up and going, things fell into place, opportunities made themselves available, and it's just been a wonderful, crazy, scary experience.
We're going to take a brief break. We'll be back.
Videos and other digital evidence are playing a more important role in today's world. The award-winning engineers and analysts at Paradigm Productions enhance and analyze video and audio evidence and provide expert witness testimony on digital evidence in a wide variety of legal matters. When you need to get to the facts, count on the professionals with a proven track record to bring out the truth in video and audio recordings. Email me, jake@paradigmproductions.com. That's jake@PARADYME productions.com to discuss your case and what we can do to help.
Hi, Russell Nicolay here with Nicolay Law, Accident and Injury Lawyers. If you have clients that have been injured, my office would love the opportunity to help them get compensated and get their life back on track. We handle referrals and co-counsel relationships on injury cases all across Wisconsin.
WisLAP views itself as an integral part of the broader team comprising Wisconsin lawyers. This mindset underscores the importance of mutual trust and reliance within the legal community. WisLAP pledges to uphold this trust by consistently safeguarding lawyers' practice and clients while remaining steadfast presence in the Wisconsin legal landscape.
And now, back to our interview. So, this conversation is part of a series called Listening to Lawyers. So I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, are there ways in which your training as a lawyer set you up to succeed in your approach to your cancer? Are there ways, and it may be that no, it's neutral, or no, it worked against me. But I'm just wondering if there are ways in which your training as a lawyer, your ability to do research, your ability to analyze situations, and I know you've done a lot of healthcare lawyering as well. So I'm just wondering about if there were ways you leveraged your skills as a lawyer. Obviously, setting up a nonprofit, people can do that without being lawyers, but probably it's easier if you're a lawyer to navigate the paperwork and all the things. So what do you think about that question?
I think there were aspects of my legal training and experience that certainly did help me to navigate the hellish experience. Because I'm a litigator and also a linear thinker, and also the legal research. Okay, so all of those things came into play. Once I was diagnosed with cancer, I think from an intellectual or mental standpoint, I took myself on as a client. So now we had Jennifer the patient and also Jennifer me. And my approach to researching various healthcare experts had to do with Jennifer, my client. I think sometimes the legal training and being a lawyer can also get in the way of one's own progress, but there were certainly aspects of being a trained attorney and also the experience of being a litigator, dealing with personal injury and workers' comp cases and working with medical professionals that definitely were an advantage and helped me, yes.
Mm-hmm. All right. So I've just got two last questions. One is, you've alluded to this earlier, but I'd like to kind of double back to it. Can you identify an unsung hero who helped you during your cancer treatment? Maybe somebody you haven't already mentioned.
There is not just one unsung hero, but such a number. of people. But if I had to pick amongst the top 5, I would say they are my husband and my daughter, because of what they went through and what I observed their suffering. And yet, their core personalities remained intact. They survived despite not having the kind of formal support that I had. And they are such amazing people that I feel so fortunate to have them in my life. So I would say if I had to pick 2 out of the top 5, they would be the top 2, but there are so many others, I have to tell you. That group of wonderful women who just rallied around us and provided support and the lovely food. Oh my gosh. So there are many unsung heroes, I will have to say, and it's difficult to name and just pick the one, but those are just some examples. There are so many unsung heroes. The strangers who came up to me who recognized I was going through chemo because I was this bald woman walking around Appleton, and who came up and offered support. Total strangers, just amazing. And I have learned that seems to be the cancer community, that is what happens once you become a member of the club that nobody wants to be a member of. It's almost like an unwritten thing. And it was miraculous during a very bad time in my life and that of my family. And so there are so many other people, I don't even know their names, who offered some form of support that lifted my spirits even for a moment. And so I know they're all out there, and for them, I am so grateful.
It also says to me that lots of us can be somebody's unsung hero. When we know a neighbor or a colleague or a family member is going through this or something like this, the little things.
It is.
The connection, the disrupting the isolation.
Little things. Even coming up to a person who looks like they might be having a hard time and just saying hello or smiling, or if you want to ask, are you okay? I was approached by so many women who understood in stores, in public, and just the offer of, I see what you're probably going through, and that's all they had to say. Or even a hello. When you pass by, a Midwestern thing, you say hi. I remember one time we had a leak in our ceiling into our kitchen. I was in the midst of the chemo, bald, feeling like death warmed over, and we had to call a plumber. And these 2 young men came, and one of the guys looked at me and said, "You look like you're going through a hard time." And that's all he said. And it was validation, and that he cared enough to say that. And that was enough. That's all he had to say.
Yeah, I'm glad he said it.
I am too. It was very astute of him to say that, and for him to feel comfortable saying that. I really appreciated that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. So if people wanted to find your nonprofit, where would they find it?
You can do a quick Google search for Health Education and Welfare Wisconsin or HEW, and we should pop up. We have a website, hew-wisc.org. And otherwise, do a Google search for Jennifer Edmondson, and I will pop up, and you can reach me directly, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
We've been talking with attorney Jennifer Lee Edmondson, and you're listening to Lawyers. Thanks for joining us for Listening to Lawyers, a special project of the Wisconsin Lawyers Assistance Program, also known as WisLAP, at the State Bar of Wisconsin. Please let us know what you think of this program by sharing your comments on our State Bar of Wisconsin WisLAP website. If you are a Wisconsin lawyer and you're going through something and would like confidential professional mental health and wellness consultation or support, please call our confidential phone line at 1-800-543-2625. That's 1-800-543-2625, or schedule a consultation with us through our website. And that is at www.wisbar.org/WisLAP. The opinions and points of view expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily represent endorsement by the State Bar of Wisconsin. Nothing in this interview should be construed as formal, legal, mental health, or medical advice.
Listening to Lawyers is a production of the Wisconsin Lawyers Assistance Program at the State Bar of Wisconsin. Recorded and mixed at Paradigm Productions.